is starving. We all are. I just think it's time we woke up.
It's gonna be a long road before I can...
I can't wait for you, Ty.
That doesn't sound like you.
We never actually cheated death.
I
don't have that kind of time.
I kept surviving. All this shit that should have killed me, and I figured it meant something.
I have cancer.
Like, maybe it meant that I had some kind of purpose in all of this, but,
It was always an even trade.
yeah. I'm not fucking seeing it, Ty. You helped me see and hear.
We'll figure it out.
And sleep. And I would be dead without you. I need you, Ben. I need you too.
This is just how our story goes.
But I need to know why the fuck I'm still here.
Death is around every corner.
Alright, what do you want?
Why would you send me in there if you knew I was just gonna die?
It's a whole ass mess. I mean, this dude actually thinks that Sandy is his fiance, but she's not.
There's something I need to ask you. Something really important. Do you remember the Goonies?
Are you fucking serious?
Don't eat that kind. It's poisonous. Like kill you poisonous or like trip your balls off poisonous. I'm sorry. You look like a tree.
You said I was gonna be the hero.
It is a classic hero's journey.
Well, honey, your mom and I are splitting up, but don't worry, because your tits are gonna look amazing.
Don't worry, guys. We might be stuck in the middle of nowhere, but hey, at least there's porn.
What exactly are you and Flex hunting for out there anyway?
I hear it's beaver season.
Dear dead hunter guy, did OJ do it?
You got the real love of our life back. You show me a better treasure.
Great. And I'm dead.
Tell me that is not just an excuse to get my pants.
Oh, it is.
Everything is.
If this isn't the ending, then tell me what happens.
Where would be the fun in that?
Investigation into the cause of the accident remains preliminary. The crash site was over 600 miles.
In 1996, a high school girls soccer team from Muskeg High School was on their way to nationals. Unfortunately, this flight was never destined to actually make it. The flight path had left the plane veering off course about 600 miles north, and everyone on that plane was presumed lost or dead. Survivors of the crash were out there for around 19 months, and upon their rescue, their numbers had dwindled a lot less than to those who had entered onto the plane that day. Who were the members of the Yellowjackets soccer team that got stranded out there in the wilderness? What was their story, and what was their role to play in the girls' survival out there? In this series of videos, I hope to break down each one of the Yellowjackets soccer team that has had a bit of a narrative element or enough context to piece together what their story could actually be. As well as, if their character is still around by the time of shooting this, I will be predicting where their character could go. That being said, hello wilderness survivors, fellow Mudbeards, and Yellowjackets if you're watching. And we're officially starting off on my new series of videos hoping to break down each one of the Yellowjackets. I'm going to be trying to release these leading up to Season 3 finale, but there's a chance that it will actually go past that point. Either way, I'm really interested in diving into each one of these characters and kind of putting my own thoughts onto video form. But I'm sure there'll be many things I missed, so if you know any interesting facts or trivia about some of the characters or actors playing them, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, that's great.
Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and start by painting you a mental picture. You're at a soccer game, it's neck and neck. The next point wins it all. You see all the players on the field rushing, doing what they can to score a goal. At some point, one of the players landing a perfect headbutt right into their target. The crowd goes wild, everyone's excited. Those on the other team who aren't sore losers are admiring the other team's victory. And why is everyone so happy about this win? Not because the ball was on the field, not because all the players were able to kick it on time, not even because of the headbutt necessarily, but because they managed to land the shot past the goalie. Think about that for a second. The goalie. This universal wall that's meant to block other people from victory and your own team from defeat. Standing not only as fortification against the pressure on the field, but against the social pressure as well. See, a goalie is often not very praised for blocking even the most stellar of shots, versus the average player making the most mid shot will get all the love in the world. You are essentially the villain out there for the other team. And for your own team, you're not even on the forefront of their minds, constantly figuring out their positioning and who they can pass it back and forth to. The goalie is just someone you hope is doing their job right. Easily neglected, but very much essential to the outcome of the game. And to stand strong and endure all these different factors, you have to be willing to take a hit. Sometimes that means dealing with some really tough stuff and continuing to push forward. Doing whatever you can to keep your team together. And if there's one trait that most people who decide to become goalies all have in common, it's devotion. It's the fact that they're enduring all this and gladly returning to the position that proves their love for the game. Goalies wear their heart on their sleeves, stand headstrong, and truly do just want what's best for the entire team. Easy for a player to want to be the best one on the field, but most goalies, they just want their team to succeed, even under the most harsh of conditions. And who better to represent any goalie on the entire TV medium than the character of Van. Amazingly played by Liv Hewson in the '96 timeline and Lauren Ambrose in the adult timeline. Both actors really managing to carve out a role for themselves within this iconic character. Fun fact, Lauren Ambrose was actually in a recent movie called Caddo Lake, and it was really good. I highly recommend watching it. And another fun fact, Liv Hewson was so popular on set and their performance so good that the writers decided to actually keep Van alive. Originally, she was meant to die in the very first season. And that is what us TV fans like to call the Jesse Pinkman talent. See, every now and then an actor can bring such a uniqueness and light to a role that it really does outshine what its intended narrative could be. Liv is just stellar at their craft, and I'm so excited to see what future projects they're a part of. But let's go ahead and touch on the adult timeline for a little bit. See, in the adult timeline of the show, Van was reintroduced in season 2, churning out that she was alive and owning a video rental store. It's obvious that her character was very much stuck in the past in some ways and trying to relive those moments that maybe she didn't get a chance to, being stuck out in the wilderness. But as far as we can see, she seems relatively happy, outside of the fact that she is actually dying. See, upon Ty's return to the show, for the rest of the series in the adult timeline, Van's character is mostly focused around Ty and the fact that her time is running short, them both trying to figure out what they can do to make the most of it. But an interesting thing I want to note is the fact that in season 2, when Ty showed back up and certain circumstances had started to arise, Van had started to lean back into the wilderness belief. I found this really interesting because through the '96 timeline, her coming into this belief was a really interesting aspect of the show. Season 1 contemplating the idea, and Season 2 denying the existence less and less. And we see in the adult timeline that when Van is reunited with Lottie, she's completely taken back. And while we have seen Lottie do some crazy stuff, when I originally seen that scene, I was convinced that maybe Lottie had gone even darker than what we had already watched. In retrospect in making this video, however, I've come to realize that Van was probably in shock because of all the coincidences happening, and she probably saw a little bit of hope in Lottie. Those same beliefs in the wilderness and the constant coincidences coming back into play. It just didn't feel like their relationship was strong enough to warrant such a focused reaction. But we see as the season progresses that Van really is just desperate. And while on the surface she's holding it together, we can see that she's barely doing so. I myself would also be pretty upset if I had survived everything out there in the wilderness, only to come back, get dumped, be alone, and then end up getting cancer. But like a goalie, she keeps pushing forward, and we keep seeing the constant devotion she has to Ty. She became so desperate at some point that she almost became a full-on accomplice with Lottie in murdering Shauna. However, things didn't really pan out that direction, and Van only had to look forward to the fact that Lottie had mentioned the wilderness was happy with them. And we see in season 3, at the beginning, her cancer seems to have receded. She's able to just live comfortably and fully enjoy this time she has to spend with Ty. However, life is cruel and unfair, especially to goalies, and it seems that diagnosis wasn't necessarily too long for her. We see that her cancer has come to return, her coughing up blood, and as of the making of this video, episode 9 of season 3 hasn't been released yet. So I'll go ahead and film 2 different reactions, and depending on if your character actually survives the next episode, that's what I'll go ahead and use. Nice! I knew she'd be okay. She's a goalie, she can't go down. She's too tough, you know what I mean? And we notice as her cancer does start to return that we see that Ty is falling into the wilderness and its belief system in desperate hopes of keeping Van safe. trading a life for a life, if that makes sense, or a ritualistic sacrifice. Van, seeming to have finally come to terms with her own mortality, has started to accept the fact that she might not live for long, especially seeing what it's doing to Ty. And with some of the paranormal coincidences going on, you can tell she really is just fearful for who she'll get to be with before the end. But this fluctuation between her belief system really does put into context her character in the 96 timeline. See, in the first season, she's presented with near-death experience after near-death experience. And Lottie's seemingly prophetic visions, you can tell that she quickly starts to consider the belief system that Lottie has presented. And throughout season 2, while she does seem to find all these things a little too coincidental for non-supernatural's sake, she never seems to fully become a full devout believer in the wilderness. But you might be asking yourself, what about that weird, intimidating scene with Travis by the end of season 2? I think with the context being provided, we can firmly believe that Van was more just trying to keep the group together. Each one of the people she was talking to, she was trying to get them to fall into the belief of the wilderness because the team needed to be a united front. And in some of those situations, some of their actions did keep them alive. Her saying she didn't feel bad about what happened to Javi is obviously not actually accurate, and more just a direct response of her trying to succumb to the coldness and the harsh reality of living out there in such a horrible, horrible predicament. Coupled with the fact that she probably did believe in the wilderness stuff just enough to just accept that it is the way life works. And if you see your team falling apart out there, sometimes you gotta step in and rein them back together. This having becoming so rooted in her that when it returned 25 years later, the same belief system sprung back into surface, never truly going away. So while she's truly not a full-on devout cultist like Lottie, she is a harsh, steadfast goalkeeper for the group of Yellowjackets out there. She is the enforcer of the group, she is the goalie of the group, but more importantly, she's the storyteller. What makes Van's character so endearing is the fact that when it comes to these small little moments, all the girls will gather around her like a group of little kids just watching someone read a storybook to them. Van taking on this role is very mama bird energy, and I think a good balance between Lottie's more nurturing mama bear energy. And then you have Shauna, the older sister that really just pisses everyone off. Point is, Van is a character in Yellowjackets who can be a little bit harder to interpret right away. With so many characters on the verge of falling apart and really just speaking their minds out there, it's a testament to both Liv Houston and Lauren Ambrose that they're able to display such small little nuances in such a stoic character. All the Yellowjackets background out there goes a little bit deeper than expected, but Van is the perfect character to represent a really tough person with a heart of gold on the inside. But let me know what you guys think. Are there any parts of the character that I may have missed or any facts or trivia that you want to let me know of down below? I appreciate the support, love the feedback, and remember, if you're gonna tell a story, do it for the team.